For decades, Jack Nicholson's smirk was the signature of Hollywood rebellion, a symbol of the wild, untamed spirit that flipped the film industry on its head. Yet, when the spotlight faded, the man behind the grin nurtured resentments far darker than any character he ever played. At 88 years old, he chose to end his silence. Beyond the glittering curtain of fame and success, 6 distinct names emerged from his memory, each one a chapter in a story of profound professional disillusionment. Some were idols he once revered. Others were peers he called friends. According to Nicholson, every single one of them crossed a critical line, moving from mutual respect into a territory of pure, enduring contempt. Here, we explore the legends he grew to despise, and the reasons their betrayals remain forever unforgiven in his eyes. The first name on that list is Marlon Brando, the towering figure whose betrayal cut perhaps the deepest. Jack Nicholson never anticipated that his most crushing disappointment would come from the very man he idolized above all others. Brando was supposed to be the ultimate hero, the creative genius who reshaped acting for an entire generation and served as a North Star for Nicholson's own ambitions. Their eventual collaboration on the 1976 film The Missouri Breaks was poised to be a historic meeting of minds. Instead, it became a masterclass in disillusionment. Nicholson arrived on set disciplined and intensely prepared, eager to engage in a creative sparring match with his hero. Brando, by stark contrast, appeared detached, physically unprepared, and seemingly disinterested in the project's demands. He famously refused to memorize his lines, opting instead to place cue cards on every available surface. Lamps, pieces of furniture, even stuck to the foreheads of patient crew members. What Nicholson had envisioned as an actor's summit quickly devolved into a chaotic farce. He would later express a searing verdict. Genius is no excuse for a lack of professionalism, and a lazy genius is merely a fraud wearing a more appealing label. Yeah. The betrayal intensified as Brando indulged in inexplicable artistic choices, adopting erratic accents and insisting on absurd costuming that served only to baffle his collaborators. To Nicholson, this wasn't the mark of a brilliant mind at play. It was a form of sabotage, a selfish game played while others struggled to hold the production together. The film's commercial failure was the final blow, and with it, any personal or professional bond was severed. Nicholson maintained respect for Brando's earlier, transformative work, but he made a solemn vow never to share a screen with him again. The lesson was a painful one. Sometimes the gods we worship are the most capable of shattering our faith. The second figure is Shelley Duvall, his co-star in The Shining, whose working style pushed Nicholson to his absolute limit. During the notoriously grueling 1980 production, Nicholson's mounting frustration was directed not solely at the perfectionist director Stanley Kubrick, but intensely at Duvall herself. He needed a stable, reliable partner to match and ground his own descent into the madness of Jack Torrance. What he found was a performance of such profound fragility and unpredictability that it threatened to unravel the entire dynamic. Kubrick's relentless demands and countless retakes were a trial for everyone, but Duvall's emotionally raw and inconsistent process created a unique layer of chaos. Her performances would swing from moments of raw, brilliant authenticity to states of such shattered vulnerability that connecting with her became impossible. Nicholson later reflected that acting is a dance requiring a synchronized partner, and with Shelley, it often felt as though they were listening to entirely different music. His own process relied on a certain rhythm and building intensity, while her emotional storms left him feeling isolated, forced to build his performance alone, amidst the turbulence. While time and perspective later allowed Nicholson to soften his view, acknowledging the unconscionable psychological pressure Kubrick placed upon Duvall, the memory of those fraught sessions never left him. The film became a landmark of cinema, but its creation was marred by the wreckage of trust and collaborative spirit between its two leads. Number 3 is Tom Cruise, the megastar whom Nicholson ultimately dismissed as technically brilliant, yet emotionally empty. Their iconic courtroom confrontation in A Few Good Men gave audiences one of cinema's most memorable lines. But for Nicholson, the experience was one of profound creative dissatisfaction. Nicholson built his craft on risk, on the electric possibility that a scene could spiral into something unpredictably real at any moment. Opposite Cruise, he encountered the antithesis of this philosophy. Every line, every movement, every calculated smile felt preordained, a product of meticulous control rather than spontaneous combustion. Nicholson famously quipped that if you looked into Cruise's eyes, you could see the machinery working, a process that was perfect, polished, and utterly devoid of danger. He perceived Cruise's approach as an exercise in flawless image management rather than a pursuit of messy, truthful, human behavior. Even during their climactic shouting match, where Nicholson unleashed the full force of his character's fury, he felt he was met not with a reactive partner, but with a pre-rehearsed response, polished to a sterile she. He compared it to preferring the raw energy of a live concert over a sanitized studio recording. While he respected Cruise's formidable discipline and work ethic, Nicholson concluded their fundamental philosophies were incompatible. One sought perfection. The other sought peril. That chasm ensured he would never seek a collaboration with Cruise again. The fourth entry is Faye Dunaway, the actress he accused of single-handedly crushing his directorial dream. Their reunion for The Two Jakes, the sequel to the masterpiece Chinatown, was not a celebration of past chemistry, but a descent into open warfare. Nicholson, who was directing, writing, and starring in the project, found himself besieged by Dunaway's contentious behaviour from the outset. She was chronically late, argued relentlessly over dialogue and direction, and challenged his authority at every turn. The legendary spark that made Chinatown so electric had curdled into pure hostility. Nicholson, buckling under the multifaceted pressure of the production, finally erupted, accusing her not of collaboration, but of outright sabotage. That word encapsulated his core grievance. She was actively undermining the project. The complete erosion of trust and respect ensured the film's difficult production and subsequent failure, a blow so devastating that Jack Nicholson never stepped behind the camera to direct again. What was intended as his magnum opus became the project that ended his directorial aspirations forever. Number 5 is Sean Penn, the director whose controlling methods suffocated Nicholson's instinctual process. On the set of The Pledge in 2001, Nicholson felt not like an artist collaborating, but like a puppet being meticulously manipulated. Penn, in his pursuit of gritty realism, dictated every nuance of the performance, every pause, every glance, every inflection. This micromanagement was anathema to Nicholson, who had built a legendary career on instinct, spontaneity, and the thrill of discovery in moment. He bitterly complained about the irony of hiring an actor known for his unique energy, only to try and eliminate that very essence.